cycled since man's myth, and now we're beginning the transformation of a new civilization. It's just this way at the Dim Carnival.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And this week we are talking about the second volume of a 2-volume set that wasn't released at the same time. And we're talking about Twiztid's Mutant Volume 2, which was released on July 26th, 2005. Supposedly the second half of the Man's Myth Mutant double album. Just so everyone's aware, there was a 2016 version of both of these albums. Oh, sorry, there was a 2016 version of Mutant that was remixed and remastered. And I'll talk a tiny bit about that at some point. Actually, probably next week. We're listening to the first 5 tracks off of that, which are The Transformation of a New Civilization, Get Off of Me, Stardust, Familiar, and Madness. I think I maybe listened to this album like one time when it came out, but I also, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's possible I just bought Man's Myth and was so unimpressed when it came out that I didn't bother picking up Mutant. Steve, I'm sure that you're well familiar with this album.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Okay, cool. Well, one thing that I think is very interesting, and maybe a tiny bit telling, that I thought was very interesting about this double album that didn't come out at the same time is, so Man's Myth Volume 1, which came out a month earlier, it hit number 4 on the US Indie chart, number 14 on the US Rap chart, and I lost my place there. Man's Myth hit 62 on the Billboard 200, number 4 on the indie chart, and number 14 on the rap chart. So they released these albums a month apart, presumably to I don't know. I honestly still don't know, to create space. Maybe they thought they wanted to drum up interest in the second one by releasing the first one a month before. Maybe they thought that was too much music all at one time and they wanted people a chance to digest it or whatever. But I gotta say, whatever the strategy was, I don't think it worked, because Mutant came in at number 80 on the Billboard Top 100 compared to Man's Myth's 62, came in at 11 on the indie chart compared to Man's Myth's number 4, and came in at 20 on the rap chart compared to Man's Myth's number 14. I just thought it was interesting that Mutant, it still did very well. Don't get me wrong. Landing in the top 100 of the Billboard chart is nothing to sneeze at. But I thought it was interesting that Man's Myth comes out just a month later. Another album comes out and it does markedly worse on every chart. But maybe that was just a product of at the time, CDs cost $15-$20, so maybe people bought Man's Myth, didn't have the money a month later for Mutant or whatever, or maybe they heard something on Man's Myth that didn't make them too excited to pick up the next one or whatever.
It's a good thing they didn't release them reversed.
You think it would have had a more detrimental effect?
Just speculation.
Now, by comparison, Bizarre, they released at the same time, but they were discrete albums. They were separate, so you had to purchase both of them. Bizarre with 2 A's was number 20 on the Billboard 200, and Bizarre with 2 Z's was number 21. So they were back to back, just the same. And probably they sold the same amount of copies, but you can't have a tie on the Billboard 100, so they probably put it alphabetically. But 20 and 21, and that's, that was 5 years ago. So different time for Psychopathic Records, different time for America. Yeah, that's all.
So Steve has mentioned it a couple of weeks, over the last couple of weeks, this interview that came out just beginning of November with Twiztid, talking about this era specifically, and an Oxide Child gives an explanation to explicitly like describe what they were thinking. And he said that they didn't really understand marketing at the time, and so it was implicated in the question that perhaps they were trying to maximize on sales figures or whatever. You get more for 2 albums than you would a double album. But Paul seemed to indicate that wasn't really the issue, that they really did want to give each one their own space because the albums were so very different. And they also said that they were worried about oversaturating the market, which is really interesting.
I would argue that this is the opposite of that, because if you release them both at the same time, you saturate the market. That's the most you can saturate the market.
It's as much as, you made it twice as market.
Or you saturate the market even less if you make them one release as a double album. Like Speaker Box The Love Below.
I don't know though, because I don't know anything about marketing or records or whatever, but if you have a record that you're promoting that's coming out, you can have a single for it, and then you can also have another album that's coming out the next month and you can have a single for it, so you can have 2 things that you're promoting at the same time, and they can kind of both share a space, but you can't promote 2 songs at the same time on the same album, maybe. Does that make sense? That's how I picture what they're saying.
I mean, I'm sure that a lot of thought went into it, and their rationale for doing this made sense at the time, and maybe it still makes sense to them now. I just think that probably everything that they said is valid, and of course is valid to them. Like, I'm not going to discount, like, they obviously did it and they felt it was the right thing to do, but I think that oversaturate the market, like, I don't think that means what they think it means, because putting out 2 entire albums a month apart, like, you couldn't saturate the market more.
I completely agree. I'm just playing the loyal adversary.
It's very interesting. So this album was produced by Fritz the Cat, with a couple other production credits here and there, but almost entirely Fritz the Cat produced this album. Now, before we jump in, I want to say, like, we've been operating under the assumption that, like, this double album is a concept album or is 2 concept albums. And I do have to just once again point out before we jump into these tracks that we spent 3 weeks on Man's Myth, going very in depth and talking at extreme length about the album. And I still haven't the faintest fucking clue what the concept of that album is supposed to be. And after listening to these 5 tracks, I think it's possible that these aren't concept albums at all. They're just albums. And they say Volume 1 and Volume 2 for absolutely no reason. Because they weren't released together. They have nothing to do with each other. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Well, I have a theory.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. My brain maybe just has to come up with some sort of narrative. So, I mean, we talked I guess the thing that I thought was the most prevalent theme from Man's Myth was questioning what you've been told, questioning your common knowledge.
Sure. But that was like the intro and like one to 2 tracks off of Man's Myth.
Yes, correct.
It wasn't like the theme.
Yeah, but I mean, we've had ICP records that are the same way.
Sure. All right, should we jump in or?
Sure.
Okay,
let's do it.
I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Did you have more to say?
Well, I was just going to say the thing about in the interview that they say is that they're sort of evolving and pushing the boundary of what kind of music they can do and who they are as artists. And so you are getting, like we mentioned during the Man's Myth episodes, this sort of growing pains feeling. It's sort of intentional, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what the Mutant thing is, right?
After listening to some of this album, I totally agree with that.
So it's not so much that there's a consistent theme, but that the album is the Mutant.
I just keep thinking, we could talk about more. We can talk about this more as we go through this album and go through the tracks. But the more I listen to this album, the more I think that both albums would have benefited from them actually just being released at the same time or as one album, like as a double album. because I just think like Mansmith is so weird to listen to, like thinking it's a concept album and knowing that it's a volume 1 because it says volume 1 on the cover. Like, I think that they did themselves a disservice because like you listen to that album and it's like, oh, they are going, like, if it seems like they're going through growing pains, and then you listen to this album and you understand why they're going through growing pains, and like it just strikes me that like if you just put it all out instead of like, let's put out an album that people are like a little bit confused or put off by, or like can't fully understand or don't know why it sounds that way, like I think that's the reason why this album underperformed that album, because people are like, oh, I don't know. And if you had just put them both out at the same time, it would have been like, oh, I see. The first track is called The Transformation of a New Civilization. And if you haven't taken a listen, take a listen right now.
Still pretty blurry, but I can tell they're all coming in a hurry, and I stand up. Ran up a little further so I can get a better look at whatever it is, and my own set it is. Can't control it, but I'm running like a zombie. People all around me, and I'm thinking like the monster out inside of me is so disgusting.
It's so funny because the first time I listened to these tracks once, and then like I went to listen to them again, and I was like in my brain I was like, well, the first track's just an intro track, so I'll probably skip it. And I started playing it, and I was like, oh no, this is just a full ass song. This is like an actual song, which is rare for a Psychopathic Records release, especially at this time. But it's a full song, and honestly, I think that this is one of the strongest tracks of the week, and I also think that this one track does such a better job of laying out the entire concept of the Mutant album than anything on Mansmith did.
So this song, like, it's kind of weird, or this album in general, just real quick, where it's like every other song I kind of like once it gets to a certain part. And so generally, like, this song I feel like ties into, like, if you're looking for connections between the first album and this album, especially like the visuals of the video for was the song I think the third song off track or the first album, Our Lives, was that
Story of Our Lives.
Story of Our Lives, with like the mutations and all that stuff that's in that video. Like this, the way this song, I picture that video in my head, like those characters from the video and stuff like that. And so it makes the connection to me between the albums. And again, kind of like what Bill says, if there was a type of theme tied to the overall art project of these two albums together, it's just kind of like that, like mutations and aliens and not trusting the government and conspiracies and stuff like that. I never really paid much attention to this song when I was enjoying this song or enjoying this album back in the day. And even listening to it this time, I was like, look, I disagree with you, Bill, that you think this is the strongest track. I don't know if you just mean that as far as content or...
No, I did
like
not say it's the strongest track. I said it's one of the stronger tracks.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, this song's always kind of boring to be. I hate to put it that way, but this is just a boring song, and I always skip it.
No, I totally buy that. I'm just giving it bonus points because it's like they very clearly lay out the concept of like evolution, turning into a mutant, turning into a monster. Yeah. And I just, after coming off of Mansmith and being so thoroughly confused the entire time, I applaud the cohesiveness and clarity of vision right off the bat.
They do a couple of really cool things. They make some cool artistic choices that I think make this a really strong song. The first is that during each of their verses, Jamie and Paul are both pitch shifted down. There's a second track of each of them pitch shifted down, and it's sort of crossfaded. And it makes it sound, it just gives them a really unique sound. And then there's a beat change during Monoxide's verse that I think really brings up the energy of the whole track. And especially because I think Jamie's verse is really interesting, the sort of concepts that he's talking about, but Monoxide's verse is like I think a real powerhouse, like really, really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the content. And so when they have the music change during his verse, I think that's like the best moment in the song.
I think it's also interesting. I think it's also interesting that like the imagery that they're conjuring is basically like what is depicted in the Story of Our Lives video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I was just like Monoxide's verse to me. He's sort of because it's like he's like he's a zombie, but he's sort of self-aware. Like he doesn't really understand. He says he's not in control of his own body, you know, and he just starts running and he doesn't know what he's looking for. And I just thought the way that he goes through the evolution of, you know, describing the story of coming to like consciousness and feeling like something unusual is happening, and I just love the way that he kind of lays it out or whatever.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of they're doing a lot of interesting stuff, and they're very like clearly like I think teeing up the point of the album. And I also appreciate that it has a hardcore track title.
I would say at this point I had really, really high hopes for this record.
Anything else to say about this track before we move along? Because really, this is just like the intro track, even though it's a full song. And what's the real meat of what we're talking about is coming up.
Yeah.
All right. The next track is called Get Off of Me. And if you haven't listened to that, take a listen right now. So this is a rap song. This is a rap rock new metal.
Oh God!
Rap rock new metal.
Rock
new metal.
What is this?
Well, I'll tell you what this is the story of our lives. So the first time I listened to this track, it was super embarrassing. So here's what I'll say. We have listened to Magic Spells, and we have listened to the brand new song that just came out. I don't remember what it's called, Ryan. The ICP diss track that just came out.
Perfect Problem.
Perfect Problem. So we've listened to several like modern day-ish Twiztid songs. And the rock that they're doing now is like light years ahead of Get Off. But I will say, still, like since the days of Freak Show, we've seen these little hints of like them really liking rock, them really liking metal, like little hints of them enjoying guitars on their tracks. This track, as embarrassing and cringy as it is a million steps up from like when they covered People Are Strange on Freak Show, which is like one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my entire life. So like more than anything else, to me, this track sounds like Christian rock, especially when they're rapping. I know Steve agrees with me. I will say that like when the music kicks in, I really like the programming of the trap drum kit. And I think that the program drums are really solid, apart from when they do like the overprocessed tom fills. Because like when the traps, when the kits just like open, it sounds pretty good, but then they'll go into like and like it's so clearly a computer.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of new metal rock, East Bay rock bands that I knew through friends in the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s.
I just have to say, they have to be the most craziest people in the world.
I wrote that line and then I drew a sad face next to it.
One of the things. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was going to say, one of the things that has always like confounded me with this song, was they write like so many lyrics. They're like, their verses can go on, and they're like really hard hitting, great lyrics. You know, not all the time, but a lot of the time. And it seems like they have so much to say. And then this song comes on, and it's just like they repeat the same lines over and over. And it's like, you if you're making rock, you can say other things other than the same line over and over.
Well,
Like,
what we've learned from Zug Island and from Twiztid is like that's what like this whole group of people believes rock and roll is like you simplify it, which isn't necessarily untrue. Like rock and roll is like simpler lyrically than rap music by definition.
Sure. Yeah.
But I just think that like it's people coming from rap who enjoy rock who don't write rock songs. It's their idea of what that means.
It's just like Mad Rocks. Mad Rocks. He's so good. And he's just saying, oh, your hate is a shame. Your hate is a shame. Your hate is a shame. Get off of me. And then, what is the... And then he says it again.
Yeah.
And then he's like, quit living a lie.
So the quit living a lie part, every time it comes in, my brain immediately snaps to Liar by Rollins Band. Like the I will never tell a lie. So, okay, wait, is he saying, okay, because Genius says we get to be the most crazy ass people in the world. I think he's saying most craziest people in the world.
Crazy ass.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's what
crazy ass.
Okay, so, that's...
They're just a giant butt. Crazy ass people.
Look at this crazy ass. So, like I said, first time I listened to this track, I was like laying down and I was going to listen to a couple tracks before I fell asleep. This track came on, like the drums come on and I'm like, okay. But then the music and the lyrics come on and like I said, extremely embarrassing. Just, you feel like, you're like, ooh, like you feel like secondhand embarrassment for them. And like the bridge is like kind of cringy, but not too bad. But the whole thing, like it really takes it back to the days of early 2000s nu metal and rap metal bands, but especially rap metal and nu metal in the local scenes and the Christian scene, which were populated exclusively with singers who could almost sing, but who were like more into like being theatrical in being a frontman. Like that entire genre, but especially like where I grew up, all the local scenes and especially like the Christian scenes, like every nu metal band, every rap metal band, the singer of those bands, they could almost sing. Like they could pull it off, but they weren't singers, you know? Does that make sense?
Sure.
So what the final thing I will say about this specific track, and what I'll say about the tracks on this album, the tracks this week, I listened to these tracks more times than any track of any album that we've listened to since at least Hell's Pit, possibly since like Wizard of the Hood. Like I listened to these tracks a lot, and I will say that after listening to this track 10 or 12 times, I actually kind of like it. But
on you, doesn't it?
But I kind of like this song, but the other rock track this week fucking kicks its ass.
Yeah.
Okay. But that is all I have to say about this track. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts since I've dominated this conversation.
Well, I already said what I thought about the lyrics and just how I was surprised that they didn't put more effort into the adding other words to it.
It is
so one thing, if I'm drunk, I actually really like this song. When I'm sober, I'm just like, So I think that plays a role in probably a lot of the songs in this whole album for me. Because this song is actually kind of happy sounding when you're just listening to it and not paying attention and like combing over what the words are. And it's got a lot of energy because when it starts off and they do their little rant and then say, get the fuck up. And like you said, then that drum beat comes in and like it gives the illusion it's going to be a really rocking song. And you know, and at times it is. And like you said, Bill, you know, after like the 10 or 12th time, you started kind of being like, I kind of do like this song.
I mean, it just may be Stockholm syndrome.
It could be. Yeah. You know,
well, okay. For a rock song that's a Twiztid song, it has really crisp, clean guitars. It's got that fun driving electronic drum beat like you're talking about. It's accessible, right? It's not I don't even know if it's about anything. I think they're just saying stuff.
It is not. It is
Yeah,
not.
I think they're just saying stuff, and they throw a little musical flavor in there. There's like an acoustic, grungy sort of breakdown, but it's mostly just like a straight ahead energy song. And if you dig on energy, then you probably like it.
I saw someone on Twitter make fun of new metal music. I think it was like that Brian Murder guy. And he's always talking about new metal bands and stuff, and he was laughing, saying that they're deep, heavy lyrics when they either say something about look into my eyes or see into my eyes. And so I was like kind of combing through this right now, and I was like, oh, here we go, look at my face. It's like almost.
I kind of want to take this track and drop the vocal tracks from All Star over it.
That Smash Mouth song?
Yes. Not familiar with another All Star.
I just wanted to make sure.
Where it's like
my brain was trying to match that up.
You do the intro where it's like, I just want to say to everybody who's family here tonight, somebody wants to.
That's great.
All right, should we move on to the next track?
Sure.
Cool. All right, well, the next track is called Stardust.
Stardust.
Take a listen.
What it can do for you, honest, it's the last case I got, and when they're gone, they're gone. Take a chance with Stardust, it'll fix whatever's wrong. Nothing can be better than it. It only costs what you're spending on it. It's absolutely not a hustle or fraud. You're either buying or you're moving along.
So, Steve, I know that you like this song a lot.
I love this song.
Loves this song. He loves the fucking song. Why don't you tell us about it, Steve?
Well, I like that in the beginning there's a little bit of a skit.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's Bad Rock's calling Monoxide, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And he leaves a voicemail about this new product he dreamt up called Stardust. And they're
and the skit has a callback to Man's Myth, I believe.
That's what I'm getting to, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because and so they're gonna be I like that they say they're gonna become the new Ron Popeils.
Yes.
And I was just like, now in 2020.
No, I think that was one of my notes is like, I think that the people that are specifically our age and Twiztid's age, like 39 to 43 or whatever, like I think
45.
that I was trying to help you. I think that we're the last people alive who know who Ron Popeil is. Like I think like because we're like the absolute last people who are aware of Ron Popeil. Like I don't know if my wife would know who Ron Popeil is.
I would be so disappointed. Well, and
she probably does.
It's a super generational thing. They talked about it on the ICP stream. Staying up late and watching infomercials, that if you were clicking around and an infomercial came on, you dropped everything, and the whole their like whole crew would just stop and they'd all watch these infomercials. And then they made fake. Yeah, they're because they were so great. It was phenomenal.
So they say that, and then he says something about, like you said, it was a callback to the first album with the did Lavelle call you? And then he said something he's going about kill Mom, and then it hangs up. And I just love that because, like you said, it's a callback to that, and I guess I don't really.
But I love that the callback to the very like intense conversation with the. Oh, I'm fucking kill you. Yeah. Like, I love that the callback to that is like an afterthought of like, dude, I dreamt this product called Stardust. It's gonna make a billionaire. Oh yeah, and like Lavelle said something about killing somebody anyway. Like, call me.
Yeah. Before digging into deep to this, well, maybe it'd be better to. I mean, the concept of the song, like is it's a snake oil salesman pitch, and I just think it's an incredibly creative song, the way it's put together. I love the music in it. I mean, the chorus is probably not the greatest chorus in the world, but it's better. It's not bad. Yeah, I was just gonna say, but it's a really good Twiztid chorus. And they actually sing on the chorus well. on and stuff. Like, and I do say, and one of the reasons why I love this song is because not when I first started listening to it, but a little bit further in as I carried over, pulling this song along on playlists would be I would play Red Dead Redemption and you're the snake oil salesman to do a mission. You got, you do it for a long time to do a huge mission, and it just, those dumb little correlations that actually there's actually no correlation, I should say, but they're just by just pure circumstance they line up for me, and it just made me really appreciate the song. It was already a song I just loved by the way it was, and then to add that to it and things like that. So, I mean, it's not like there's like this huge grand reason why I love it, but other than
it's a really strong, it's a really strong concept. It's really cool, but I think that honestly, like to me, like for me, like the most innovative and interesting and creative thing about it for me is that it's called Stardust. Like it's a snake oil thing. It's like an infomercial, like a ripoff thing, but like not saying what the product actually is and calling it Stardust is like, I think that's extremely creative and like mysterious and interesting.
They can't even tell you what it'll do.
Yeah.
It's just going to fix your problems.
Yeah.
I love that.
I also love that the chorus includes the line, "It's absolutely not a hustle or fraud."
Yeah.
I
really move it along.
Yeah, I just really love the background Stardust.
Yeah.
Fucking amen.
Stardust.
Well, here's the thing. Lots of people can come up with an interesting idea. And if you're even an artist, lots of artists come up with interesting ideas. But pulling it off, I think what makes this song interesting to me is that it's smart. Like, it's smart and it's funny. And but it's not like, but you're in on it. So it's like, it's a good time as well. Like, you're not the one that's being duped.
The intro voicemail like does a lot of lifting, honestly, where
exactly,
he's calling you, or he's calling his partner in the song, and he's like, "Look, came up with this shit. It's gonna make us rich. Let's go." And you're in the song. Yeah, because if the intro wasn't there, they'd be trying to hustle you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Never even thought of that.
That's the only reason that you're in on it, is because of the intro voicemail.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Nice. Yeah. Good job, Bill.
I was just reading this shit.
It made me think of, I mentioned the podcast Sawbones a long time ago. They actually have an episode about magnets that they mention Insane Clown Posse. But it's a medical history podcast. And they have a really interesting episode on patent medicines. And so I just highly recommend it to folks if you like this song and kind of what they're doing, the swindling and all of that. You can get some really cool history if you want to check out that.
And don't forget to drain your humors. Yeah, Sawbones is the best podcast I don't listen to. Absolutely. It's great. It is very, very good. I don't listen to it. Just because I have too many to listen to. And
well, Sawbones is definitely not a hustle or fraud.
No, absolutely not. Anything else to say about Stardust, which we all very much like?
It's a banger. Love it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next track, which is Familiar. And if you haven't taken a listen, take a listen right now. Okay, so the first time I listened to these 5 tracks, second and fourth songs were rock songs. As I said, first listen to the second track was very embarrassing. So the first time I listened to these tracks through, I was like, all right, there was an intro, a rock song, a rap song, a rock song. And I was just like, oh no, Mutant is a hybrid rap rock album. And that's what the Mutant is. Their sound has evolved to this. Magneto was right. So like I was like the first time I listened to these 5 tracks, I was fucking horrified because I was like, sweet Jesus is a rap rock album. That's why this is the second volume of this double album, because the first one's just a Twist album, the second one's our Twisted Rock album, and Jesus Christ, what are we getting into? Oh no, oh no. That being said, I actually really fucking like this song. This is my favorite track of the week, and I love it. I love this song. I completely love this song. To me, it sounds like a Candlebox song, but it's so much better a rock song than the second track. It's just so much better.
The song's garbage. You guys, the song sucks.
Oh yeah, dissenting opinions.
Love it.
Quote Spike Lee, "It's not my cup of tea."
Oh my god, that's the best soundbite ever. You from England?
I was like,
but
okay.
You like it, Steve?
Oh, go ahead.
I do like
Steve.
this song. Yeah, I really do like this song. It was a song that over the years grew on me. I hated it when I first heard it, but
yeah. So Steve, this is like, so if the to use completely Christian scene parlance, if the second track is a Project 86 song, this track is a Stave Zaker song.
Yeah.
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 But I just like, and like the lyrics are so much more creative on this song. Like,
Definitely.
You're hollow like a well with no water and everyone's thirsty. Like, fucking cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Shadows
And
creep
also-
across the floor as I wait for their son to return to me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Like, the lyrically, like, now this is finally their first actual rock song. Like, it's lyrically poignant. They don't just repeat shit over and over again. Everything's distinct. It's a song about something. And like the chorus is actually a chorus and they sing it well. And it's great. I love it. It's so catchy. Like, it's an actual song. Like, this is the first time they've made an actual rock song, and it's really good. And it just, like, the more I listen to it, the more
Okay, wait, check this out. So the end of the first hook, there's a bridge that goes to to Monoxide Child's verse. And every time I listen to it, I'm just like, I don't really like this. And then it gets to that part and I'm like, oh, it's a real song. And it's like I get a breath. Like I'm drowning, but then I get a little bit of a breath, you know? And they really hit it right there. But the rest of it,
yeah, but I like it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I had never heard of the term post-grunge before.
And this is it.
And so this album is how I learned what post-grunge was.
I never heard that term until you just said it right now.
Well, I was trying to figure out what I knew, if anything, that made me feel like what these guys were trying to do. And the closest thing I could come up with is Finger 11. One Thing. You guys familiar with this song?
Oh, of course, from Scrubs.
Okay, from Scrubs. Well, I'm going to go on a tangent here. So I was trying to figure out the sound and I couldn't even remember names of bands, and I just started randomly looking on things for YouTube, and I ended up with Finger 11 and this track, and I was like, oh, this is the one I was thinking of. I looked at the comments and there was a lot of comments about Chris Benoit.
Yeah, because they did his theme song, and also at the time WWE used a lot of Finger 11 tracks in like recap packages and as themes for pay-per-views and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
Actually, no, I think Finger 11 did a Kane remix. They did a theme like remake for some Ruthless Aggression era star, but like Finger 11 was used a bunch for recap packages, and I'm pretty sure they did Leave the Memories Alone, which is the Ric Flair retirement package. Like, Googling it. Oh no, that was Fuel. Sorry. My bad. But that's basically the same band.
Right, sure. And so so I was listening to this, like, what kind of music is this? Is this white guy rock? Because that's just rock.
No, it's new metal. It's
not exactly though.
Wrestling fan songs.
It's butt rock rap.
Yeah.
It's
Godsmack.
Right, Godsmack.
Godsmack, like Disturbed, Stained, fucking Mercy Drive, Shinedown, like basically everyone who's ever been a band that's made a theme song for a wrestler is in this genre.
So that's the pool we're swimming in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I like that the person who did the lyrics on Genius for this track, the only time they spelled familiar correctly was in the track, the title of the
familiar.
But the most important one to get right. Shall we move along to our final track of the week, or? Yeah. Sorry, you didn't like this song, Ryan. I liked it a lot.
Well, you know what? This other one I wrote.
Bad news, Ryan, because when we get our band back together, we're covering this song.
Well, one thing we skipped over it, but during Get Off of Me, I made a note that said, "Fuck me if I don't like it."
Yep, agreed. All right, the last track we have this week is called Madness, and if you haven't taken a listen, take a listen right now.
Keep on asking me for the body, but I forget where I hit it. I get these blackout spells and I don't remember much, but I'm always at the police station every time that I wake up. They yell louder now. The night is turned it on. They said if I don't know them, how the fuck I have this sweater on.
So guys, I feel like this is another strong track, and I gotta say, like Steve's gonna be so angry. Through the first 5 tracks, boy, am I liking this album better than Mansmith.
Wow.
I'm
happy for you, Bill.
Sorry you guys hated it. Maybe like it's possible.
Like this album.
It's possible that it's just because I listened to these tracks like over and over and over again.
Okay.
Because like partially out of disbelief, but like by the time I was done listening to them for us to record the podcast, like, hey, you know what? I like these songs.
How many times have I sent you guys videos saying, look at this shit, and then a week later I'm like, I'm still listening to that song because I'm hate listening to it, and now I like it.
I mean, that definitely happens.
I think that the first verse of this song is such a great concept for a song, and maybe the single best concept that we've seen yet on either of these albums.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Stardust is great, but just like fucking like someone who keeps blacking out and they don't know what they've done, and they have to like, they're always like, every time they wake up they're getting dragged back into the police station because they're doing more crimes. Or
how the fuck you got the sweater on?
yeah, no, that's my absolutely makes the song for me is they're yelling louder now. The night has turned to dawn. They said if I don't know him, how the fuck I have his sweater on? Like, that fucking rules, dude. Also, and then close behind that is the I fell to the earth and got back up and shook that shit off eagerly. I took a step and jumped to the heavens, but my ups are humanly.
Yes, ups are humanly.
So, like, yeah, so like the first verse, Monoxide's verse is like, the concept is so fucking incredible, and then the second verse, Madrox's verse, the flow is fucking dynamite.
Yeah.
Like, so good. So, but when I first listened to the first verse, like for the first few times I listened to this track, until I looked at the lyrics, I thought Monoxide was saying that the cops had pictures of him behind a victim swinging an axe, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
Like, well, we got pictures of you killing the guy. But what he's saying is they pictures and flashes back to what he's saying.
Right.
So yeah, no, like, great song. Really, like, great rap song.
Yeah.
Jamie, I wrote Jamie raps real fast on this one. And he also uses twice as many words.
That's what you gotta do.
One of the things what stands out to me with this particular song, and I really like the song, but the verses, the especially if you're listening with good headphones or on a sound system that's really got a lot of bass, it's got a lot of bass. And it's a really heavy driven, and I just feel like the bass rolls. And like the way they're rapping, like the beat rolls behind it. I don't know how to explain it, but
I think you're describing it accurately.
Okay. But then my disappointment a little bit, like a criticism of the song, is I feel like it all drops out during the chorus.
Yeah, absolutely. It does.
And it's not the worst chorus in the world, but then it just doesn't follow the actual song to me. But
So here's maybe an explanation for that. This is the only track on the album that like is not credited to Fritz the Cat or Twiztid or Lavelle. Sorry. There are 2 tracks on the album that aren't credited to Fritz the Cat or Twiztid, and this one is supposedly produced by Violent J. This is the track that Violent J produced on the album. And the previous track, the second rap track, rock track of the week, Familiar, was actually produced by Fritz the Cat and Monoxide, and that's the only track on the album where Monoxide has a producer credit, which I thought was interesting.
Cool.
But yeah, like just like dropping all the music out, like is kind of tracks with like what Violent J would want to do. Like he'd be like, you know, what would set this apart is if you just took all the music out for the chorus.
Get your ass up out of my way. Sorry. I'm always going to go back to that now.
I did want to point out that Monoxide Child states that he is equal to, an equal of the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
All right.
Yeah, because, I mean, why else would we be giving a speech to the Pentagon?
I mean, I'm just saying that, that's a
Wait,
strong rep.
That's
a strong rep.
Track, is it? That's a different track? Shit, it's a different track.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, he's bad in this one. Well, I mean, I guess that's bad too.
Oh, no, this is it. Press conference in the Pentagon. Yeah. So the last track is like he's the Antichrist controlling everything.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Like, it's like 3 different types of madness. Like, I can't remember the bad things I've done. Like, I can't control myself. And then I can control everything and I can control everyone. Which is, like, again, like, I think the first verse is, like, just, like, incredible. But, like, taken together as a whole of, like, the 3 types of madness that they detail is, like, pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. I like this one. I say this is my favorite track this week.
Nice. 3 different.
I don't like the first part of the hook like you're saying, but I like the second part of the hook at the very last, when it ends, when he's like, when they call it strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, he starts rapping really fast right there. Strange.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought, like, so I liked at least something about every track this week, and I thought Get Off of Me is, like, absolutely extremely cringy and embarrassing, but, like, after having listened to it, like, fucking a million times, I like it, but I would fucking never in a million years play it for someone or have someone catch me listening to it. What
are you doing in there?
Masturbating? I'm jerking off. Spanking it. Shut up. But yeah, I like honestly stunned at how much I've grown to like these tracks. And I think tracks 3, 4, and 5 are like just fucking unstoppable. And I really, 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 really enjoy it. And like already, first 5 tracks, like Mansmith, there's nothing on it that can touch what I am enjoying about this album. I mean, like, I do really like the music from Off the Chain. I don't think anything on this album is going to touch the music from Off the Chain for me, because, like, it goes so unnecessarily hard. It's always going to crack me up. Like, they'll put every ounce of their energy on Mansmith into, like, we're going to use this for the song where we're doing sex. But anyway, final thoughts for this week, guys. I loved it, but your guys' thoughts.
I'll go next because I hope Steve's going to say something positive, like to end on a positive note. Can't say I'm feeling this record too hard, you guys. I'm worried about what's to come.
Dude, the first two listens, I was like, I'm going to tear this album apart. I fucking hate it. It's garbage. They should be embarrassed that this album still exists. And now I'm like, fucking, this album's good, guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, I said Madness was my favorite, but actually I'm sure it's Stardust. It's a much better song. And Twiztid is a band that I like. And so they just don't always do things that hit with me, and that's fine.
Yeah. I don't really care for the intro very much either. So for me, definitely, songs, 3, 4, and 5, I really enjoy, Stardust being just my absolute favorite. I don't want to jump the gun and say maybe Stardust might be my favorite song on the entire album. But it's probably the song I've listened to the most off this album. I mean, over all these years, but, I have to say I am very, pleasantly surprised, and I'm very happy to hear, Bill liking this as much as he has, although there is a little bit of the blasphemy of saying that he's enjoying it more than Mansmith, and I think maybe he should go and listen to Mansmith 1,000 more times.
Never gonna happen.
But anyways, I'll take it though. My biggest fear was that I've always been praising these two albums and been so excited to get to them, and my biggest fear was that they were just going to be nothing but shit upon because they're not like typical Twiztid albums. And then listening to that interview and hearing Jamie Madrox saying how they just felt at least for him, he felt very lost creating this album, and and of course me being an idiot would choose the album that they that they liked the least to be my favorites. It's just always typical, but looking forward to what's coming up next, just because it's a great album. This is fun.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to next week. And speaking of next week, let's listen to the next 5 tracks off of Mutant, which are Fuck You Part 2, Jenny's a Fat Bitch, Fantasy, Who Am I, and The Truth Will Set You Free. So we'll talk about those 5 next week. Until then, please take a whip around the internet and follow Dim Carnival on Instagram and Twitter. Check out the YouTube channel where Ryan's been doing really awesome stuff. And leave us a review on iTunes. And my book's out. If you want to pick up my book, that'd be really cool. Follow me on Twitter at Sundown Motel. You can see all the information on how to get it there. Other than that, until next week, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And collectively, we're the second most craziest people in the world.